Get a toll-free number for your business. Sound like a Fortune 500 company. No long-term contracts. Try it for free for 30 days at freedom800.com.
It is Easter on this 5th day of April 2015, and we have a special transmission for you today. I guess in radio parlance, they would call it a best of. But some of it will be original with some of the new special reports that have been filed at InfoWars Nightly News, like the ones you're about to hear here in just a moment. And then the amazing interview a few weeks ago with a former technical director of the National Security Agency, William Binney. Then we have Barrett Brown, the political prisoner, is going to be joining us from prison. That interview with David Knight and Paul Joseph Watson, very important. And then that ties in to Bruce Fine, the former head lawyer for the FCC, who helped end the Fairness Doctrine. He weighs in on the persecution of journalists and the media and the FCC power grab. Daniel Estulin on the latest on Bilderberg. We're going to talk to Dr. Andrew Wakefield, recently exonerated with the proof of his studies and what vaccines are doing to children, and more. All this in the next 2 hours. But now, this excerpt from InfoWars Nightly News, then we'll be back after the break.
Yesterday, we brought you the news about a mass shooting, a campus shooting in Kenya. The terrorist group Al-Shabaab opened fire at Garissa University College and killed nearly 150 people. Fox News reported the men were going door to door, asking people their religion, and if they answered they were a Christian, they shot them on the spot. The first responders engaged the terrorists, but were flat out outgunned. Al-Shabaab is the same group that attacked a mall in Nairobi years ago, killing many innocent people. And now they're threatening attacks here on U.S. soil, threatening the Mall of America. DHS has investigated the group and found them to be no credible threat. And I hope they're right. But if they're wrong, I'm very happy that we live in a country where we have concealed carriers.
He kept pulling the charging handle and hitting the side.
The break and gunfire allowed Mealy to pull out his own gun.
I saw someone in the back of the Charlotte move. And I knew that if I fired and missed, I could end up hitting them.
So Mealy took cover inside a nearby store.
I'm not beating myself up because I didn't shoot him. But I know that after he saw me, I think the last shot he fired was the one that he used on himself.
The gunman was dead.
And in the Clackamas shooting, the mere sight of armed opposition forced the gunman to turn the gun upon himself. I guess he didn't want to take the chance of being taken alive. And now we're all asking the same question: how do we combat these mass shootings? Well, the chief of Interpol has come out and said, well, maybe we should just arm the citizens. The people should be able to protect themselves. And I do agree. Now, am I trying to put a firearm in every dorm room in America? No. But if you're somebody of age, of sound mind and body, and you don't have any criminal proceedings, I think you should be able to go out and purchase a gun to keep yourself safe. But not everybody agrees with this point of view. And there are now actually articles out debunking the effectiveness of armed citizens. I have some self-defense stories here, and for the purposes of this report, I restricted this to public people in public places and not private individuals in their homes. We'll start with this one. Back in 2012, two robbers enter an internet cafe, one's holding a bat, the other one has a pistol. He jumps up with his own pistol, shoots at the robbers, and chases them out like the rats that they are. You see, guys scurry and pretty pathetic. But he saved the day. Another story from Wisconsin. A gentleman pulls out his concealed carry and then shoots this guy once the coast is clear. Gas station clerk thwarted robbery, fired for violating company's no weapons policy. So this guy, he saved himself and the people in the store, but he lost his job, unfortunately. Another story out of Philadelphia. A barbershop patron shoots gunman dead. Armed robber, no match for pharmacist with a .45. And there are videos accompanying most of these articles I'm showing you. We're just skipping them for the sake of time, but you're welcome to go back and look at them for yourself. Woman fends off would-be attackers with concealed gun. And this is a bank employee with a concealed carry shoots would-be robber in the jaw. Another bank story. Bank customer thwarts robbery after returning to car to grab gun. And we'll end with this one. India's first gun for women fares well among men. And this was in response to the Delhi gang rape of 2012, where the young lady was raped on the bus with an iron rod by several attackers. And now they have a gun specifically designed for the women. I think the gun is way overpriced, but I'm happy to see that the young ladies are carrying this nonetheless and are able to defend themselves. Keep this in mind as we go forward, and hopefully we diminish these gun-free zones and get rid of these soft targets. You can find more reports on Infowars.com.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back on the other side with the NSA whistleblower.
Your personal rights and freedoms are under fire. Rising prices, drought conditions, domestic threats, and excessive government regulations only increase the threat. Having a supply of food is the difference between freedom and captivity. Depression-time breadlines extended for blocks, and those at the end of the line not only experienced fear and humiliation, but often did not receive any food. Having a supply of GoFoods will keep you out of the breadlines and allow you freedom from government dependency for one of your greatest needs. Whether today or in 25 years, GoFoods will be there for you when you need it most. Buy it today, save it for later, feed your freedom. Special values now available. Call us at 800-648-9753 or on the web at www.storefoodnow.com. That's 800-648-9753 or www.storefoodnow.com.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Thank you for joining us on this Easter broadcast. I want to go to our annals here, or our archives for a moment. Not too far back, a few weeks ago, we had the former technical director of the National Security Agency, a huge whistleblower, on the broadcast, and he dropped bombshell after bombshell while he was on. So here are some of those tidbits of information. Mr. Binney is a real hero. He'll just say he did his duty. But in a world of traitors, someone doing their duty is heroic. And he joins us here today. William, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I don't know where to start. We could recap your story, what's happening, get into the exciting stuff about you coming back from Germany. You've been talking to parliaments over there. And you've been talking to the EU people, I believe the British Parliament. Big national headlines where you say it's a totalitarian takeover in The Guardian. But here it's starting to come out in the news as well. I guess they failed to silence you. We could talk about you working with Oliver Stone now on the new Snowden documentary. We could get into the slides and break down the fact that it is going on from an expert, showing us not what's classified, but what's already been leaked so you don't get in trouble. We're here with the former technical director of the NSA, the guy that actually ran it, William Binney. So you've got the floor, sir.
You know, there's so much here. It's really hard to know where to start because it's really been over time. Our government has moved into basically sliding down the totalitarian slope, taking massive amounts of data on our citizens and then working around and doing it across the world. So it's basically they're doing this for everybody in the planet. And the process started here in the NSA. And it has started to spread around the world to the Five Eyes countries, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and then to other countries like in Germany and Switzerland and Sweden and Israel. So the process of data collection, and now the Russians are doing it. I just read an article where they're starting this kind of operation. So now the Russians are following our lead in this spying business.
It's a big brother race.
Right. When I first started in October 2001, it was very clear to me that this was a process that we were adopting in the United States. It was really a Soviet attempt or a Stasi attempt in East Germany to assemble all the information on their populations. Why? It's because they wanted to control their populations. That was the whole point of the totalitarian states. It has been down through history. I mean, this is nothing new. This has been repeated so many times in Caesar Augustus. You know, it was so clear right up front. But I mean, you can ask anybody in the Tea Party who's been denied access to 501c3. You can look at the IRS use of the data. Look at the law enforcement,
DEA with parallel construction.
The parallel construction. I mean, that's spread around the world to other police organizations around the world too. Anybody with an organization or police organization that has a relationship with the FBI or the DEA around the world is subject to getting this kind of information, but they'll never be given the original data from the NSA collection because it's not admissible in a court of law because it wasn't acquired by a warrant. And they don't want to, with foreigners, compromise the fact that they have the ability to collect them.
And don't they then fence it and wash it, and they've been caught adding disinformation, and it's a perfect way to put into the global data stream frame-ups.
They did that kind of framing with us. They did that even with us. The Department of Justice did that. They framed us. They attempted to. But
speak a little bit about that. I think that gives people a window into how totalitarian this is.
Well, for example, in the case, the only case that went to court was Tom Drake's case. And they took him to court because he was still working for NSA at the time. This was in 2007 when they raided us initially, and then they raided Tom Drake about 3 months later. But his case didn't get to court till about 2010. Well, 2010 they charged him. In 2011, 10 and 11, in that frame, they wanted to take him to court. What they did was they took information that he had at his house that was marked unclassified, and they changed it. They drew a line through that and then stamped it classified, secret or top secret, then charged him with having classified material. That's like retroactively classifying something so you can charge somebody with having classified material. That's framing him, okay?
It's a forgery, it's a fraud, it's a major felony.
Right. And the problem with it is that they didn't know what they had done. They'd released most of that material themselves, NSA did, into the public domain unclassified. And that's what Jim Bamford found.
Because Drake wasn't stupid. He didn't want to go to prison. He was only bringing out what was already out there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was unclassified by NSA regulations. That was the way they stamped it. So
I had the former director of Star Wars on. He died a few years ago, Dr. Bob Bowman, and he talked about some of the space planes once, and then they called him and came to his house and kind of threatened him. And he said, hey, here's where it was released on C-SPAN, and here's where you guys in your own propaganda a decade ago released it. And then they couldn't go after him. But that's the type of stuff they pull.
Right. It's a total fabrication of evidence to put people in jail. That's our Department of Justice doing it.
The Bible calls it bearing false witness.
Yes. I call it perjury and felony, and these people should be charged and given a chance to explain what they did and why they did it.
Tell folks what happened to you before we get into the NSA itself.
For me, in my case, I mean, I was kind of prominent, complaining to senators and representatives and various other people, as was Tom Drake.
Let's be clear. You guys were doing this internally.
We were in terms of the government, yes. We were going to the inspector. Kirk Wiebe and I even went to talk to the Department of Justice Inspector General. And, of course, they couldn't say anything to us, but we made it clear what the problem was with this domestic spying. But for me and all four of us, we were the four who were first raided in July of 2007. We were raided because we were the ones who signed the DOD IG complaint against NSA, charging them with corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse. And that caused a major DOD investigation of NSA that all verified what we were saying, and that was published but redacted because it was even the unclassified, embarrassing parts were redacted, which is a violation of the NSA the government.
Open records.
Yeah, well, it's a violation of government classification regulations, too. In other words, Executive Order 13526, Section 1.7 says you can't classify something or keep it classified or not declassified if it's evidence of a crime or evidence of that embarrasses an agency or
you can't use the National Security Act to cover up criminal activity.
Exactly. And that's basically what the NSA and the DOJ and the DOD with that investigative report, that's what they were doing. They were redacting it and hiding it from Congress and hiding it from everybody else. So they're covering up what they're doing. And for us, they attempted after the raid. By the way, the DOD IG's office was the one that gave our names as the ones who submitted that complaint against NSA. They gave our names to the FBI.
Wow.
And that was against their regulations. Okay. I mean, who now?
So they're all breaking the law while accusing you of doing it.
Yes.
And all you're doing is going to congressional committees and inspector generals whose job it is to have oversight and telling them, hey, they're breaking the law.
Yes. And also it's the committees who are supposed to, the intelligence committees in the House and Senate, and also the FISA court, were established after the Church Committee investigation of NSA, CIA, and FBI in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And one of the main persons they were spying on back in the Minaret program was Senator Church.
That's right.
And that was only came out recently, and the reason they didn't, of course, was because they are spying on people who have power over them.
And let's be clear, because the fake conservative argument and the fake liberal argument is the same. We're protecting you from Al-Qaeda and drug dealers and all this other stuff, but then as more of this gets leaked and comes out, they're spying on Parliament, they're spying on Congress, they're spying on other agencies, and there's so much spying going on, and you've explained this, that back